Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in and for visiting the Generation Engaged website. This video is the first in a segment of videos we are going to do on app demonstrations, taking specific apps that we talk about on the website and giving a brief overview of how it can be used in this in a classroom or how it can be used for a specific lesson. As always, we believe here at Generation Engaged that mobile devices and apps will not and are not meant to take over um, the teacher's role in the classroom. It is meant more to, we think it is meant more to change the teacher centered classroom paradigm and give students a more hands on example of what a lesson could be about. For example, today we are going to talk about an app called Trade Nations. Now, Trade Nations is a type of economy sim based app. It can teach things like supply and demand, economics, business, city planning, all those types of things can be housed in this simple game. What could be done in the classroom? This could be used as an assessment, it could be used as a reinforcement of the lesson, and it could be done throughout the course of a few weeks or 1 week. Maybe a student comes in, plays the game for 10 minutes before the class or while at the beginning of the class, and then you move on to that day's lesson. And it's great because all the students can play together in one area and they can trade with each other. So, as you can see on this first screen, my town's in the upper left, and then a friend of mine who plays this game, who turned me on to it, his town is in the bottom right, and we're friends. You can't be friends with someone if you don't have to be friends with people who else play this game on the server. You don't have to be friends with them if you don't want to. So you can keep it locked down to just the students in the classroom. You can have them work together and trade with each other, and it teaches them about economies and how an economy works and how trade works and how teamwork works. Um, so here we are. This, if you can imagine, all the students in the classroom would have their own town. They can visit each other's town, they can trade, they can buy, and they can decide in their town what they want to concentrate on. If one student wants to be the powerhouse of rock, and rock's a resource in the game, and they want to just dedicate their entire town to collecting rock and refining it into stone to be used to build buildings. And if students want to go to them to buy their stone instead of making themselves, it teaches them about that concept of how supply and demand. If you have a lot of stone, he can charge a certain price for it, things like that. All right, so I'm going to go to my town, classic version, and this town has taken me about 10 minutes to create. I got through the tutorial and here I am. You can see there's little people walking around. The town doesn't have a lot to it right now because I just started. First, we'll start down here. And cottages. Okay, these are single person cottages. Every time I build one, I get one worker. I can, eventually as the game goes on, I can create bigger houses. And I can have more people housed within it, which means gives me more workers. The workers work on farms and lumber camps, things like that. So, for example, here we go. We got my farm here. Everything's based on time, so you can't have a person who plays this game a lot or has a special skill, is really good at video games, and can beat everybody in the classroom. It doesn't work like that. It works on time. So it takes time for them to collect things. That's why you can carry this game out, because as it gets more difficult, or as their city gets bigger, their town gets bigger, they will have a harder time making things. So when you refine, let's say you're refining your logs into lumber, it takes 12 hours to do that. So that's a way you can spread it out through an entire 9-week period and have them play the game from beginning to end, and that can be an assessment throughout the entire semester. On my farm, I have a farmer and I have a hauler, a wheat hauler. The wheat hauler takes the wheat, delivers it to the stockpile, and then I can use it to sell or use it to build other things. What can I use the wheat to build? If I go to my bakery, which is the first producer I get, you can see here I can use wheat to make things in the bakery, which then gives me money. For instance, the eclair at the bottom takes 12 hours to make, and it costs 350 pieces of wheat. But in my return on investment, is of the time, my return on investment of time in the wheat is $1,000, which I can use to build things. So we're going to go ahead and build a cookie. One piece of wheat, 45 seconds, I get $15. Now, the city planning section comes in where I go into my decorations and I can start planning my city out. This is when you can tell them they need to have so many trees of a specific tree. They have to have a road, they have to have gates, things like that. So let's look at our building section. You can see this is pretty extensive. There's a lot of things like schools and lumber mills, things like that. There's a bunch of stuff you can build in this game. Brick oven, flower shop. Flower shop can be used to make flowers, which you use a resource to make a flower, and then you sell that flower. And you have to have someone work there too, so you have to have people to work in these places. So you have to build cottages. Okay. If you go to the bottom, we can use money to make our land bigger. So as they expand, they need to buy more land. All right, our cookie is done. Got our 15 bucks. All right, so how does it work with the class? Back to my large view. I'm going to go to my friend's town. The money sign means that I can trade with them. All right. Obviously, this is a very large town. Spent a lot of time playing it. You can see in the middle he has a park area with many things for his people to do. There's a circus. There is a flea market, things like that. Over here is a residential area. There's a school right here. And there's a couple other things that you could see in the town. This is his stockpile down here. This large amount of stockpile. He can sell that on the global market, or he can sell it to his friends. Okay, so if I go to one of these areas that has the money sign, I can sell him if I want to buy blocks, because I can't make cut stone yet, but he can. So I can buy 100 cut stone for 200 pieces of stone. And that's how it works. He can adjust those prices and go from there. All right, I'm going to go back to my town. I'm going to talk about the global market. Now, the global market. This rests within the server itself for everybody who plays. As people sell resources, the cost of that resource to buy it goes down because there's so much of it, supply and demand. So students are able to interact with the global market on that aspect, or they can go to one of their classmates and buy off them directly at a different price, maybe a lower price. So that's just a brief overview of what we can do in this game. Again, this game is not meant to take the place of a teacher. As you can see, that could not happen. If you gave them this game and said, here you go, play it, it'll teach you about the economy, they won't. They have to be directed in that direction. So that teacher-centered lecture paradigm in the classroom really changes to a director, where the teacher really just tells them and challenges them, and they have to do it. They understand at this point they would have had to have been lectured on what the economy is and how supply and demand works, and then it goes from there on, so they can get a reinforcement of that. All right, well, thank you very much for tuning in, and I want to say please check back often. We will be doing many more of these videos, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at generationengaged@gmail.com. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.